Now at 9, Oklahoma's chief medical examiner positively identifies the remains found during the search for the missing 4-year-old Athena Brownfield. Plus, a new report analyzes the drowning death of a diver at the Roaring River State Park.
Technology is a gift and a curse. I'm Kevin Cork with a look at the artificial intelligence program that educators worry students will be able to use to cheat on their assignments. That's coming right up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm Jalen Banks. Remains found during the search for Athena Brownfield have been positively identified as those of the 4-year-old. Athena was reported missing on January 10th after her sister was found alone by a postal carrier in Cyril, Oklahoma. A funeral was held for Athena this week, but Oklahoma's chief medical examiner just announced a positive confirmation last night. Athena's 2 caretakers have been charged in the case. Ivan Adams is charged with murder and child neglect. Alicia Adams faces 2 counts of child neglect. Court documents show Alicia Adams claims to have witnessed Ivan severely beat Athena on Christmas and leave with her body. The report analyzing the circumstances that led to an October diving fatality in Southwest Missouri is complete. KOAM received a copy through a public records request with the Missouri Highway Patrol. KOAM's Amber Jenkins spoke with a diving analysis expert and has details.
Tragedy struck Roaring River State Park during a dives team expedition to find the bottom of Roaring River's underwater cave. In October 2022, divers from KISS Rebreathers explored Roaring River in teams of 2. Unfortunately, one of the divers, Eric Hahn, drowned during one of the expeditions. This video is from Hahn's YouTube channel and our own story with Hahn shot weeks before the tragedy.
I was a recreational open water diver when I was a kid, thanks to my uncle and my grandfather for introducing me to the sport.
KOAM received this report explaining what happened on that fateful dive. Scuba tanks use a mixture of oxygen and nitrogen gas. And in this report, it finds that in this case that the oxygen levels was higher than it should have been for a dive at 190 feet. It can also impair a diver.
It's almost like drinking alcohol or smoking weed. You're just not as quick in your thoughts as you were.
According to the report, a diving partner says Hahn flailed his arms and legs during the dive. Tillman says that's consistent with oxygen toxicity.
We're not sure if he panicked or if he was just uncomfortable of sorts. Oxygen seizures, that is something you realize when it's too late. So that usually underwater you can't really tell if someone is going to have a seizure.
The report finds a second emergency tank, known as a bailout bottle, also had a higher ratio of oxygen than it should.
The oxygen content in the tank attached was definitely, or in the bailout that is also used for feeding that rebreather, was definitely too high. So that would have been a human error, basically.
When I spoke to Hahn mere weeks before the incident, he was hopeful and proud of his dive team.
But one of the reasons that this project has been so successful has been due to the open-mindedness as well as camaraderie between the KISS Rebreathers dive team.
Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
KOAM reached out to the KISS Rebreathers dive team for a comment, but we have not received a response yet. Some police officers were recognized for their accomplishments earlier today. KOAM's Jana Havdala has more from the event.
4 police officers in the Joplin area are waiting to be rewarded for their hard work.
We're recognizing those accomplishments, and they'll be pinning their badge on them this afternoon.
3 individuals completed their training, which includes a full semester at Missouri Southern State University, following a 16-week field training. Corporal Jeff Fleener joined the group since he was recently promoted.
It's something I've always wanted to do. I was ready to take that next step into law enforcement, to being a supervisor. So it's something I've always wanted to do in my career.
A special part of the day is close family members joining the event and pinning a badge on the officers. Fleener's wife and daughter place the badge on him.
They come up and they actually take the badge we'll pin it on their loved one, just recognizing their accomplishments, because families, they go through a lot being married or related to a police officer, and so they're part of it as well too, and we allow them that opportunity to pin the badge on their loved one.
Fleener is the first law enforcement officer in his family. He is still planning to go back to college and become a sergeant one day.
It was just a childhood dream of mine. Past experiences, it really set me up to want to do this career for the rest of my life. So I think it's the best job ever.
Davis says this event happens usually 2 to 3 times a year, depending on the groups of trainees that complete all of the training.
It kind of varies just depending on the amount of openings, the amount of people that make it through training, the amount of people that we're able to get through in one particular session.
In Joplin, Janna Haudala, KOAM News.
Joplin Chaplain Program also joined the event, presenting each officer with a special gift. Some Pittsburgh students got a lesson on business. 4th grade student at Lakeside Elementary hosted Just Imagine Kansas 2023. It was the culmination of a project where the students had to research businesses, create booths representing those businesses, and sell items based on the research. All of the booths were
This has been around for quite a few years. It originated as Just Imagine City, went on to Just Imagine Kansas, and we are able to now tie it into our 4th grade social studies state assessment. So in the state of Kansas now, 4th grade has to do a state assessment, and it's based on our regions and things like that. So we're able to tie that state assessment into Just Imagine Kansas and the project-based learning curriculum that we already used prior to that.
This is the 8th year of the Just Imagine Kansas project. There's growing concerns over access to artificial intelligence programs like ChatGPT and whether students can use them to cheat on assignments. One professor at Minnesota University Law School had ChatGPT complete one of his standard tests and claims the software scored a C+. Fox News correspondent Kevin Cork takes a closer look at the pros and cons, plus how other professors are examining the program.
In the digital age, access to information is always just one click away, but there's growing concern over technology's impact on children's education. ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence program gaining popularity for its ability to generate conversations, essays, poetry, and more.
If you ask it to continue what you're writing, it'll do that.
But how does it know what to write?
So it's trained on a large data set of curated written material. For instance, Wikipedia, all the books in the world, scientific papers.
Casey Fiesler of the University of Colorado Boulder has been experimenting with the program.
I did have ChatGPT do an essay assignment for my class. It was pretty good, probably like mediocre undergrad work.
But there are flaws.
It fabricates sources. It just gets things wrong.
And while students can use the program to complete assignments for them, Fiesler says artificial intelligence actually creates issues beyond altering how people consume and present information.
Concerns about students cheating aren't concerns about learning. They're concerns about evaluation.
Because the software combs the entire internet, critics worry it's not just subject to misinformation, citing how biased opinions and hate speech could make their way into what the program writes. In Washington, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor another 4th State hero. Jeff Davis served in the U.S. Army from 1941 to 1952. The Joplin native was stationed in the Aleutian Island, Germany, and Korea, and was awarded a Bronze Star. We're proud to salute First Sergeant Jeff Davis, a 4th State hero. Coming up, President Biden calls for peace after the Memphis police released video of Tyree Nichols' death. President Biden is calling for protest over Nichols' death to remain peaceful. He's reached out to the victim's parents as well. Fox News White House correspondent Peter Ducey has details.
We understand the outrage people have currently.
Tyree Nichols' parents got a condolence call this afternoon from President Biden.
He's been briefed, but he has not seen the video, nor has anyone at the White House seen the video, so I can confirm that.
That briefing included brutal details.
I have been briefed on that video. It is deeply disturbing, let me say horrific from the descriptions I've been given.
The FBI director's assessment is blunt.
I have seen the video myself, and I will tell you I was appalled. I'm struggling to find a stronger word, but I will just tell you I was appalled.
Now all FBI field offices are on alert for potential unrest.
The White House has been in coordination with the relevant agencies to ensure they prepare if protests become violent.
As attention turns to alleged police misconduct, a reminder about the president's push last year for police reform.
He wants to make sure there is accountability with law enforcement officers who violate their oaths.
In a written statement, President Biden says, "I join Tyree's family in calling for peaceful protest. Outrage is understandable, but violence is never acceptable." For now, White House officials believe that statement will be enough to cool tensions.
Why doesn't he want to speak directly to the American people now that some big cities are bracing potentially this weekend for riots?
So he put out a statement yesterday, and I think when a statement comes from the President of the United States, it has a powerful impact.
Still no formal remarks from President Biden about this. However, on his way to Marine One before a trip to Camp David, he addressed reporters briefly. He said he is concerned about the potential for violence this weekend. At the White House, Peter Ducey, Fox News.
Scammers apparently hacked employees of at least 2 U.S. agencies last year. This is according to an advisory from the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, the NSA, and a threat sharing center for state and local governments. They sent the alert out Wednesday revealing cyber criminals posed as tech support to get at least one federal employee to visit a malicious website. They were apparently trying to trick the victim into sending them money. Officials say it is not clear if the fraud worked. Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy is back with a complete look at the forecast. And later in sports, Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce could reach an NFL record this Sunday in the AFC Championship.
Well, definitely it turned out to be a decent day for us today. Warmer than what we've seen all week long, which is always nice. The winds are going to start to pick up tonight, and we got some big changes moving in for the weekend. But outside right now, it looks good. It's Friday night. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri. The parking lot filling up. Of course, it's Friday night. All right, look at our temps. 34 in Nevada, 33 in Pitt, but 43 in Miami, 47 in Anderson. Southerly winds are going to keep our temperatures from dropping off as much as what we have seen over the past couple nights. But looming just to our north, that's Arctic air. This is going to be the first time we get into Arctic air since right before Christmas. Not as cold as then, but yeah, it's really going to cool down. For tonight, we kind of hang upper 30s to lower 40s. The winds really pick up tomorrow, 48 by 10 a.m. But the clouds are really going to start to increase. Pretty much clear skies now. We've got some clouds in our northern counties, but this is the beginnings of our next storm system, which is brewing up across the Dakotas into parts of Nebraska and back into Wyoming. It doesn't have a lot of moisture with it, but it will definitely change our weather up. All right, let's step through time. We're going to stop 7 a.m. Southerly winds, upper 30s to near 40 degrees. Clouds increase through the daytime hours. By noon, we're back into lower 50s. During the afternoon, we get into the mid 50s. But here comes that Arctic front. See the wind shift line? Ahead of it, a couple little showers. Get going. Most of the day is going to be dry. We get scattered showers tomorrow evening. Here's 10 p.m. See a little bit of pink. That's sleet and freezing drizzle. Most of us just get showers through the night into Sunday morning, but Sunday morning is going to be a little tricky. See these little pink blobs popping up? That's freezing drizzle and light sleet. It doesn't look like a big deal, but something we want to keep our eyes on as we are sitting into the 20s and we have some light wintry mix through Sunday morning. This will push east, and then we're just kind of cold all day long on Sunday. It's a good day to stay inside. I hear there's a couple big football games on. All right, winds gusting near 40 by morning, near 50 during the afternoon. So super windy, and then the cold front drops through, and the winds switch around out of the north. So that means we're going to have pretty low wind chill factors by the time Sunday morning rolls around. Look at this, wind chill factors, single digits to near 10 degrees. 43 in the morning, 52 by noon, 55 for a high. Clouds increasing as we go through the day, and then we have little systems that kind of hang out for us early next week. This one could give us a light wintry mix on Monday and then returning again late Tuesday into Wednesday, so a lot to watch as we go through about the next 5 days. 55 tomorrow, only 33 Sunday, only 29 on Monday with a light wintry mix, and chances again on Tuesday into Wednesday, so a pretty cold stretch for the beginning of the week. Jalen?
Coming up, the economy is slowing down according to a new report.
The U.S. consumer is pulling back on spending as inflation eases. I'm Mallory Rivera in Washington with a look at the new economic numbers coming up.
President Biden is touting the economy and dismissing concerns of a recession, but new data from the Commerce Department shows the economy is slowing down. Fox's Madeline Rivera breaks down the numbers from Washington.
A barrage of holiday deals and discounts weren't enough to entice many shoppers in December, with new numbers from the Commerce Department showing personal spending falling 0.2% from the month before. The slowdown comes even though price hikes eased. A key inflation gauge shows prices are up 5% from a year before, down from 5.5% in November.
The numbers that we're seeing today confirm what we basically know, which is inflation is coming down slowly, but is still a very significant problem.
Last month's data is yet another sign that the Federal Reserve's aggressive rate hikes are working.
We're starting to see now with December, with retail sales down, industrial production down, housing is obviously down, etc. And now today we have revised consumer spending. It's starting to look like we're finally into this downturn.
Still, President Biden is downplaying the possibilities of a recession.
They've been telling me since I got elected we're going to be in a recession.
But his remarks aren't enough to tamp down concerns.
We do think that in general, there's still some momentum in terms of consumer spending, but we think that really starts to hit a wall as we get deeper into 2023.
New Friday data also shows U.S. pending home sales rose in December, reversing a 6-month losing streak. In Washington, Mallory Rivera, Fox News.
Companies are cutting temporary workers at an alarming rate. That's according to a report by the Wall Street Journal. The report says companies shed more than 110,000 temp workers in the second half of last year, with 35,000 temp workers losing their jobs in December alone. Temp workers are usually hired through a staffing agency, and that makes it easier for companies to add more staff, but unfortunately, makes it easier for them to lay them off as well. Some economists believe this is a sign that there could be more job cuts to come. CVS and Walmart are cutting pharmacy hours. The chains say they're experiencing a shortage of pharmacists. CVS will cut or shift hours to about 2/3 of its locations in March. Walmart plans to reduce pharmacy hours by closing at 7 instead of 9 p.m. at most stores by March. Walgreens has already revealed reduced hours because of staffing shortages. Up next, scientists create a shape-shifting robot. We'll learn about the invention. To no surprise, science fiction has become reality. Scientists have designed their own miniature robot that can shape-shift and escape from cages. This video was taken as a part of their research, which was published Wednesday in the journal Matter. As you can see, the robot is solid while in the cage, but it slowly liquefies to get out. Scientists say they got the idea from sea cucumbers, which can alter their stiffness to protect themselves. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. A multi-million-dollar project to bring fiber optic internet to Carl Junction, Missouri hits a milestone. Plus, why you may be spending more money at the cash register for groceries this year. We'll have the numbers. Faster internet may be on its way to Carl Junction. Optic Communications held an informational meeting for CJ residents about its fiber optic internet. KOAM Shagun Bamdali has more.
A multi-million-dollar project that helps to bring broadband internet to Carl Junction is reaching an important point in progress.
The fiber optic system is going to be is an internet-based system so that people will be able to subscribe to it like they do a cable company or something like that.
Lover says a federal grant helped in starting this project.
Optic Communications 2 years ago was able to get a grant from the federal government, an NTIA, which is funding half of this system, and then Optic is funding the other half.
One Optic spokesperson says the new internet will serve the parts of Carl Junction with no internet.
Carl Junction is considered underserved when it comes to internet access. So our goal is to provide the fastest, most reliable internet in the region to Carl Junction.
Rector gives detail on how the company plans to start providing services to people.
We're starting off with Zone 2. All the different areas of Carl Junction are going to be broken into zones. Right now we are installing mainline fiber, and once we get that installed, everyone will be encouraged to sign up at that time. So once we get everyone signed up, we'll start putting fiber to the home.
Reporting in Carl Junction, Sheikh Bamdele, KOAM News.
Almost half of the $16 million project will be covered with a federal grant. Your grocery shopping bill is about to go up even more this year, by 8%. New research by the Agriculture Department shows the price of meat will jump nearly 13%. Dairy will go up 8%. Fats and oils will cost nearly 17% more, and bakery items will increase by 12%. And that's not all. The cost of dining out will go up as well by 8.2% this year. 3 vaccine makers are in the early stages of testing single vaccine shots against both coronavirus and flu. Reps from the pharmaceutical companies addressed the Committee of Independent Vaccine Advisors to the FDA yesterday. Moderna said it has launched a dosing and safety study of its combination shot. Pfizer says it's also in the early stages of testing a combination in COVID and flu vaccine. A change could be coming that would allow more gay and bisexual men in monogamous relationships to donate blood. The FDA has proposed policy change. It involves getting rid of time-based deferrals for gay and bisexual men and their female partners. Instead, potential donors will be asked if they've had sex, new or multiple sexual partners in the past 3 months. Those who say no will be allowed to donate. Those who say yes will be asked follow-up questions. The proposed change is more for public comment for 60 days before it becomes final. At least 10 Ukrainian civilians are dead and 20 others have been wounded in an attack by Russian forces today. Moscow increasing the violence the past couple of days. Forces may be trying to seize an advantage in the months before tanks pledged by Western allies begin to arrive in Ukraine. Fox News correspondent Trey Yinks has more from Kyiv.
A deadly barrage of Russian shelling in Ukraine on Friday.
Marine infantry, paratroopers constantly moving forward. We kill them. They sustain big losses, but they don't stop and keep sending new forces to capture our positions.
Moscow accusing Ukraine's allies of choosing this new level of confrontation by promising to ship powerful tanks to Ukraine. Putin trying to exploit differing opinions among Ukraine's supporters as countries around the world debate what comes next after sending these weapons to Ukraine.
This was the right decision, should have been made months ago. The Germans wanted political cover for the United States to step out first and escalate.
The German government insisting it is not in direct conflict with Russia.
We support Ukraine, but we are not parties to the war.
Details coming in regarding deadly strikes from Russian missile and drone attacks on Thursday. Ukraine's Air Force saying Russia used hypersonic missiles to strike Ukrainian targets.
We know what these missiles are, and unfortunately, we cannot detect them and shoot them down in time.
Russian officials claim the strikes disrupted the transportation of NATO weapons and ammunition.
The goals with a massive strike have been achieved.
What Putin is looking for here is a protracted war. He thinks over time he can outlast the Ukrainians and outlast the political will of the United States and the Europeans.
Numerous Ukrainian towns and villages were hit hard in this latest round of Russian shelling. In Kyiv, Trey Yinks, Fox News.
A bit later, we'll learn how a federal program designed to help support isolated veterans has grown since it was created in 2020.
Well, definitely it turned out to be a decent day for us today. Warmer than what we've seen all week long, which is always nice. The winds are going to start to pick up tonight, and we got some big changes moving in for the weekend, but outside right now, it looks good. It's Friday night, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri. The parking lot filling up. Of course, it's Friday night. All right, look at our temps. 34 in Nevada, 33 in Pitt, but 43 in Miami, 47 in Anderson. Southerly winds are going to keep our temperatures from dropping off as much as what we have seen over the past couple nights, but looming just to our north, that's Arctic air. This is going to be the first time we get into Arctic air since right before Christmas. Not as cold as then, but yeah, it's really going to cool down. For tonight, we kind of hang upper 30s to lower 40s. The winds really pick up tomorrow, 48 by 10 a.m. But the clouds are really going to start to increase. Pretty much clear skies now. We've got some clouds in our northern counties, but this is the beginnings of our next storm system, which is brewing up across the Dakotas, into parts of Nebraska and back into Wyoming. It doesn't have a lot of moisture with it, but it will definitely change our weather up. All right, let's step through time. We're going to stop 7 a.m. Southerly winds, upper 30s to near 40 degrees. Clouds increase through the daytime hours. By noon, we're back into lower 50s. During the afternoon, we get into the mid 50s. But here comes that Arctic front. See the wind shift line? Ahead of it, a couple little showers. Get going. Most of the day is going to be dry. We get scattered showers tomorrow evening. Here's 10 p.m. See a little bit of pink. That's sleet and freezing drizzle. Most of us just get showers through the night into Sunday morning, but Sunday morning is going to be a little tricky. See these little pink blobs popping up? That's freezing drizzle and light sleet. It doesn't look like a big deal, but something we want to keep our eyes on as we are sitting into the 20s and we have some light wintry mix through Sunday morning. This will push east, and then we're just kind of cold all day long on Sunday. It's a good day to stay inside. I hear there's a couple big football games on. All right, winds gusting near 40 by morning, near 50 during the afternoon. So super windy, and then the cold front drops through, and the winds switch around out of the north. So that means we're going to have pretty low wind chill factors by the time Sunday morning rolls around. Look at this, wind chill factors, single digits to near 10 degrees. 43 in the morning, 52 by noon, 55 for a high. Clouds increasing as we go through the day. And then we have little systems that kind of hang out for us early next week. This one could give us a light wintry mix on Monday and then returning again late Tuesday into Wednesday. So a lot to watch as we go through about the next 5 days. 55 tomorrow, only 33 Sunday. Only 29 on Monday with a light wintry mix, and chances again on Tuesday into Wednesday. So a pretty cold stretch for the beginning of the week. Jalen?
Coming up in sports, Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce nears an NFL record ahead of Sunday's AFC Championship game against Cincinnati. Plus an SEK showdown between two of the highest ranked teams in the state. Jacob Leonard has those highlights and more after the break.
The Fort Scott Tigers play at home tonight with an SEK doubleheader against Independence. On the girls' side, it's a matchup of two of the best in the league and two of the highest-ranked 4A teams in the state. Now, Fort Scott is ranked 5th in Class 4A in Kansas. Indy right behind them at number 6. So here we go, first quarter. Abby Bailey for Independence, 3 from the far side. Bulldogs lead after 1. To the second quarter now. Tigers swing back. Ellie Smith, bucket and the foul. She gets 7 in the first half. Fort Scott up 3 at the break. Third quarter, Keegan Yarrick making plays for Fort Scott. She knocks down the 3. 13 points tonight for Yarrick. Then good pass inside to Mackenzie Murphy. Murphy finishes for Fort Scott. Tigers still in front going to the fourth. But in the fourth, Indy sticks around, and here Riley Reichenberger from the corner. 3 is good. This one, such a good game. We go to overtime, the NOT. Cam Eichison drives, floater in the lane is good. She scores 21 tonight to lead Independence. The Bulldogs go into Fort Scott and take over first place in the SEK, winning in overtime 49-45. The Pittsburg State Gorillas split a doubleheader last night with Central Oklahoma. Now, the Gorilla men lost a tough one 80-70 to the 4th-ranked Broncos, while the PSU women picked up an 83-75 win. Now, Tristan Gegg had a team-high 22 points Thursday night, including knocking down 5 threes. Grace Pyle also had a big night, 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. With the win, Pitt State has won 6 in a row and 11 of their last 13 games. They're sitting at 11-3 in the MIAA. Good for 4th right now in the conference.
I think it's important to just continue to remind our kids. I felt like I should throw some water on them because this should not get old. Like, winning should not be something that you take for granted and just like, oh, okay, and you just walk in the locker room. It's not a big deal. This is a big deal. In our league, it's tough. And so I think that I probably should have went ahead and thrown some water on them. But so we need to enjoy it. We need to make each one of them a big deal.
The Missouri Southern Lions swept Newman on Thursday night. The Southern men held off the Jets 70-66, while the women rolled by Newman 76-46 to get their winning streak to 6 games. Lacey Stokes finished the night last night with 14 points, adding 6 assists. But Caitlin Honeycutt had the hot hand and led the Lions in scoring. Honeycutt was 4 for 6 from deep Thursday night, finished with 19 points, her second highest scoring night of the season.
It means a lot to me. My teammates they're great. They have confidence in me every day in practice, at all the games. They're always telling me to shoot it and shoot with confidence. And, that's something I've struggled with. So, and especially at the beginning of this year. So, again, just to see some shots go in and to know that they have my back and they have confidence in me, that makes me feel a lot better about it.
The Kansas City Chiefs are in the AFC Championship game for the 5th consecutive season. On Sunday, the Chiefs host the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC title game, with the winner moving on to Super Bowl 57 in Arizona. Now, like we've done all season on Friday nights, right now, it's time to hear from the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, in this week's Minute with Mitch.
The Chiefs Kingdom is hosting the AFC Championship for the 5th year in a row, an all-time NFL postseason record. Now, this is a picture of former 49ers Hall of Fame receiver Jerry Rice, the greatest pass catcher in NFL postseason history. But second now on many of those lists is Chiefs warhorse tight end Travis Kelce. Kelce has 120 postseason receptions, second all-time to Jerry Rice. Kelce needs 55 receiving yards Sunday to be second all-time to Jerry Rice in that category. And with 2 more receiving touchdowns, Kelce will be second all-time to Jerry Rice in that postseason category. The Chiefs are trying to win a 3rd Lamar Hunt trophy in 4 years and be AFC champions once again with the amazing Travis Kelce on this Minute with Mitch. The Minute with Mitch is brought to you by Como Jewelry. Every day's game day, Como Jewelry, Pittsburgh, Joplin.
And that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
The Department of Veterans Affairs created a virtual program early on in the response to the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, matching volunteers with socially isolated veterans. Since then, the program has grown tremendously across the country, creating much needed connections. We have an update on the feedback the program has received, how much it's grown, and how you can get involved, both veterans and volunteers. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
The Department of Veterans Affairs started its Compassionate Contact Corps program in 2020, weekly phone calls between volunteers and lonely and socially isolated veterans.
How much has it grown since it started?
We started with 8 sites around the country, and now we are at over 65 sites. And last year, we made over 13,000 unique phone calls to our veterans.
The program has since received encouraging, positive feedback.
From our veterans, we've heard things like this has been a lifesaver. We've had veterans that have lost their spouses, and they didn't think that they would carry on a year. And we've paired them with volunteers, and those veterans are still with us because now they have someone to talk to every week, and it's the same person. Some of our volunteers also get a little bit of loneliness, and so they're able to connect as well. And a lot of our volunteers are also veterans.
It's also provided insight into loneliness amongst veterans.
The reason why our veterans are more susceptible is because of their exposure to things such as stress, trauma, burnout. And now we know that there are some clinical issues that might exacerbate this because they may feed off of each other, but puts our veterans at higher risk for more clinical conditions like depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and suicidal ideations.
The goal is to keep expanding and connecting.
If you are a veteran or a family member, all you need to do is reach out to your VA clinician and let them know you're interested in participating. And I'd like to applaud you right now because we know that there are stigmas attached to loneliness and social isolation. So I'd like to applaud that bravery.
Interested volunteers can reach out to a local VA medical center or va.gov. Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Coming up, A couple who's been together nearly 80 years shares their secret to a long and happy relationship. A couple in Baltimore County, Maryland will celebrate their 80th anniversary on Saturday. Megan Rivers was able to sit down with them and ask them what the secret was to their success.
I just didn't pay him any attention.
Geraldine Chambers giggles as she reflects on her marriage to her husband, Willie. It's been nearly a century since they met.
I've known her ever since she's around 4 years old.
Willie is 99 and his sassy bride is 98 years young. Mr. Chambers remembers the moment he finally mustered up the courage to share his feelings.
As memory served me, on a fifth Sunday.
In the late 1930s, church and school was the only place the two could snag a glimpse of each other. Mrs. Chambers, well, she didn't make it too easy.
One of my classmates told me, there's somebody that wants to talk to you. I said, who? That's all right. Don't worry about who. You'll find out.
In his wife, Mr. Chambers says he's found what God intended for him to have. And the last 8 decades was a choice he made every day.
Well, when you have a helper and very persuasive, it's not hard.
So what's the secret to longevity?
I dare not tell you.
But in any relationship,
The marriage hasn't always been cream and honey.
you find something about your mate that you can't live without.
One thing I love about her, she's bossy.
I'm glad you said that.
I don't know, she grows on you.
And they say you realize that's the secret.
The world is hers as far as I'm concerned.
And doing life only makes sense with each other.
I guess I love her because she's Geraldine.
Well, isn't that awesome? 80 years. Well, that's our time for tonight, and thank you guys so much for joining us. But before you go, we'll leave you with the video of a polar bear at the Brookfield Zoo playing in snow. Be safe, and we'll do this all again. See you then.